Recently on Facebook, I've seen a lot of people who are talking about light and they're talking about dark. They're talking about Jesus or they're talking about Lucifer. And I thought what we would do is we would kind of just dive into that a little bit more in depth and really focus on what is light, right? What is light? We have the answer in science that says that light is just electromagnetic frequencies. They're just frequencies. They're all around you. We have the understanding in spirituality that light is the thing that you aim for, the greatest, highest achievement of your life, to be enlightened. We also have the understanding of a bug that gets zapped by the light. It gets attracted to the light and then it gets zapped by the light. So what is light? Where does it fall into any of these categories? And I think what's really interesting about light is the fact that it can be on both sides, but we don't place light on both sides. You see, if it's on the other side of something that is considered not positive, we view it as darkness. But light actually might have the ability to hold both good and both bad, both magnetism and also electromagnetic frequency. It's the understanding that it could be both at the exact same time. And I think that a really good place to look at this is going to be the Bible. Because when you have the story of Jesus and you have the story of Lucifer, what you're actually talking about is you're talking about light and what you can do with it. So there are a lot of people who believe that light is the problem, that it is deceptive, that it is the thing that is causing the issues. Whereas you have other people believe that light is the thing that we lack, that we live in this dark world and we just need more light. And so I think that when you look at both of these characters, Jesus and Lucifer, Lucifer being the light bringer, Jesus being the light of the world, you end up with a question, right? It's not a question of whether or not light exists. We're very much aware that light exists. You live in a world that literally tells you light exists. I'm on a camera right now that has a lit up background. Okay, it's a question on what does light mean to you? And more importantly, what would you do with the light that you do see? I think that Jesus's walk is an example of what you can do with light in a positive way. How you can basically shine it for people, but not blind people. How you can shine it below at their feet so they know where to walk instead of in their eyes, and so they become blind. And I think that Lucifer is a great example of our fear of light, right? The more light that's in your life, the more light that you have shown in your life, the more transparent you are. And believe it or not, as much as we all like to talk about how confident we are behind Facebook screens, we are not confident enough to be transparent. We are not confident enough for everyone to know everything that we've done. And I have yet to meet somebody, including myself, who hasn't made mistakes in the past that you don't really want people to know about. You made mistakes in unawareness. You made mistakes when you didn't have light in your life. And because of that, you don't want the world to see them. We call them skeleton in our closet. However, I'm just talking about just regret. We all have it. Before you were a spiritually enlightened person, I'm sure you made a lot of mistakes. I know I did. I have a whole chain of girls that I was in a relationship with who I hurt. I didn't mean to. I had no desire to do it, but I was unaware. So Lucifer is the example of being afraid of the light, the thing that repels light. Okay? But it doesn't mean that light is the problem in this. See, light is just neutral. It's just like a book. It's just like the Bible. You can read the Bible and it is completely neutral. It has no value in any way, shape, or form. You could put it back on your shelf. Just as you can read the Bible and you can get a powerful message, go out in the world and do something different. The exact same way that you can read the Bible and you can get a negative message. You become angry at the world. You become scared of the world. Light is not really the problem. The problem is the person who is wielding light, because light is magic. If you really think about it, an overall understanding of this, light is pure magic. The sun gives off electromagnetic rays, which is what science talks about, which is light. And everything around you, including this book, is made up of atoms. It's made up of particles that have free will. Now, it doesn't have the desire to go get a job. It doesn't have a desire to go get a relationship. But what it does have the choice to do is to be seen or not be seen. If for whatever reason the particles in this book decided not to be seen, you would not see it. Okay? Everything around you has a choice to be seen or not be seen, which is the most powerful message about free will. Free will is not the desire to get the job that you want. It is not the desire to go to the church that you want. It is not the desire to believe the way that you want. It is only the desire or the choice to make any choice at all. Free will allows you to make a choice. And at a atom's level or a photon's level, the only choice it wants to make is to be seen or not to be seen. This is, in a way, one of the coolest things about Shakespeare, right? To be or not to be. Just add another word, to be seen or not to be seen. We all make this choice. We all decide whether we want to be seen. I know that when I was in high school, there were plenty of times I did not want to be seen. There are also many times in my life I wish I was more seen. Okay, so the understanding is that light is the magic that allows for your reality to be your reality. And I tell this all the time when I'm working with kids. You take a handful of Legos, all different colors, all different shapes, and you can't see them. So they're in a box. You cannot see them at all. And you go in a dark room. And if I ask you to make a pattern, you can't do it. You cannot do it without light. You need to be able to see the colors. You need to be able to see the separation. You need to be able to create a pattern that way. Okay. So no matter what, light is important to be able to observe, to be able to have some type of observation of your reality. Therefore, it is never the problem. The problem is how you wield light, how you hold light, and how you use light. There are many people on their spiritual journey who spent years not knowing the power of light. It was replaced by words like Jesus. It was replaced like words with apostles or disciples or God. And when they finally left the church, because you can't live up to these, levels of expectation, they then went on a journey to kind of find a different light. And when they end up finding that different light, what's the first thing they do? They turn around and they shine it in the eyes of the people they think blinded them. You finally find the light that you're looking for in the world, and the only thing you know how to do is to throw it back at the people who you feel held it from you. But the irony of the whole entire thing is that if they actually knew how to achieve light, they wouldn't have taught you the way they did. The church, the problem with the church is not the teachings. The Bible is fantastic. And as somebody who reads it quite often, I can tell you that there is a whole nother level to the Bible people have not even tapped into. No, you see, the problem is that since you didn't find it in that area, you think that people held it from you. You think that people are hiding it. You think the Vatican knows oneness and unity and love and light and the universe and then hides it from you. Instead of accepting and understanding that the Vatican built its whole entire foundation, right? Catholicism, Christianity, they built their whole entire foundation on not knowing oneness, on not knowing that we are supposed to be connected, that the universe is looking out for you, not God. And by that, what I mean is the individual God, the judging God, not the overall universe that looks at everything and says it is exactly the way that it is supposed to be. In fact, you'll notice that the only time that you actually decide that the world is not working for you is the moment you have an agenda. The moment that you have a reason to live, a purpose, a desire, a walk, is the moment that you look around the world and say, wait a minute, this doesn't add up with my walk. Right? War does not add up with my walk. And yet, ironically, there have been wars all the time. People have been dying and fighting for just food, for starvation, for shelters. But we don't fight for those. We only fight for the things that come into our lives when we decide on an agenda. When you decide that you want to be a person who actually wants to stand up for good, now suddenly you seek out the things that are not good. And that's the problem. The problem is that once we get light in our lives, once we get magic in our lives, and it is very limited, it is very limited magic. But once you have it in your life, the question is, what are you doing with it? And this goes for all spiritual people out there. Okay, because I did the exact same thing. As soon as I started to understand things, as soon as I got the awareness and the clarity, the very first thing I did was be very angry at the government, very angry at the church, very angry at education. It took me a long time to actually come full circle and realize they didn't know any better. Forgive them for they know not what they do is not about individual choice. It is about group choice. It is about global choices. It is about the unity in the areas that are not supposed to be unified, such as fear. Forgive them what they know not what they do is to say, forgive the government for they know not what they do. And yet, ironically, only at certain levels. There are plenty of people in your government. There are plenty of people at higher levels than what you live in your life who are doing good, who are doing the best that they can given their view of the world. And more importantly, everyone is. Everyone is doing the best they can given their view of the world. It just matters what their view is. And there's a really, really good song by Cutlass that talks about perspective. It talks about a little girl who is looking through a pane glass window and she sees everybody in red. And her mom, who is probably about a good 3 feet taller than her, is looking through the window and she sees everybody in white. And it's because of the different colors in the painting, in the glass. Okay, our filters play a role on how we see the world. So not only when you decide to find a purpose or to find an agenda for your life, does it play a role in everything that goes on, but now you add in your filter of color. Light is a very powerful thing because light allows you not only to see the choices that you are making, but to recorrect the choices that you've made. It allows you to look back and say, oh, I could have done that differently. I could have done that better than the one that you actually did. And one of the greatest things about being human, I don't know about animals because I'm not communicating them and finding out, but one of the greatest things about humans is the ability to recorrect your path, to chart your own stars, to follow your own guide. And the really cool thing, when you get down to it about humans, is that we do it with nothing. You have to have absolutely nothing in your life to decide that you want to actually have a purpose. You can start completely from scratch and build a whole entire world, a whole existence, if you want to. That's what makes humans so powerful, is the ability to wield light, to wield imagination, and to create what you want. So light is not the problem. What we do with light is the problem. And that's an individual choice. That's a morality issue. If you suddenly receive magic and you use it against someone else, that's a moral issue. But if you receive magic and suddenly you receive awareness and what you want to do is help other people, that's different. You cannot help people and also hurt people at the same time. Okay? You cannot do it. You cannot decide to use 50% of your light to help people and 50% to blind people. That's why you end up stuck. That's why you end up stalemate, is because of the fact that whenever you divide your magic, you have less magic than when you started with. And what's really cool about that is that when you start looking at today, where we are with fusion, we are at a place where we are actually creating an outcome that has 50% or more energy than what we started with. Okay, so if you are actually using 50% on one side and 50% on the other side, you're using less than what you started with. And that is why you feel like you're stuck. That is why you feel like you're in a hole. Because you are. You started at a certain number and then you divided that magic and now you have less. Okay, so if you want to actually use magic, you want to actually use awareness, you want to use power, you need 3 things in your life. Number 1, you need kindness. You have to, because you're not going to understand this in terms of just talking about this, but you are constantly being watched, constantly being observed. Okay, that's why your higher self is talking to you. If nothing else, your higher self is watching you at all times. And when you receive a little bit of awareness, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of magic, and you use it to hurt someone else, you lose it instantly like that. This is not a game of morality on whether or not you're on the right path or the right track. There is no right path. There is no right track. Become a Christian, become a Muslim, follow witchcraft, follow spirituality, follow anything that you want, but do it with kindness. There's absolutely no reason in the world that you can't be kind to someone on your walk. Okay, so choose whatever path that you want. So number 1 is kindness. You need to have kindness. Number 2, you need to have trust in something other than yourself. You have to. You have no other option, because if you only needed trust in yourself, you would have done this a long time ago. You would have been able to elevate and change your life a long time ago. You need to believe in something other than yourself, something greater than yourself, so that when you trust in it, you can receive from it. Right? You are God. You and I are one. There's no question about that. The question is whether or not you actually believe that. And if you actually believe that, you'd be walking on water, you'd be healing the sick, you'd be using frequencies to change the world. You'd be changing the world. So it's not a question whether I believe that you can actually do it. It's whether you believe that you can actually do it. And you cannot do it by yourself. That is the biggest message that is out there. We are not meant to live alone. By yourself, you are everything and more in your own cave. But once you come out in the world, you are no thing if you have no one else in your life. No one to compare to, no one to say, I am kind and actually act kind. You can say in your cave, I'm the most loving person. I can do anything for anyone. But when you go out in the world and you don't even give money to the homeless person, that's where your true truth lies. And think about that phrase. That's where your true truth lies. That's where you are lying to yourself. That's why people stay in their cave. That's why they stay behind Facebook. Is because it is very easy to type a bunch of words. It is very easy to convince people of things when you don't actually have to show any type of experience. All right. So number one, you need kindness. Number two, you need to believe in something other than yourself. And number three, you need awareness. You have to ask yourself in every situation, every moment, am I aware? And what am I aware of? Deepak Chopra did a whole entire thing about this that was absolutely amazing, about asking yourself these questions. And every moment that you're in, am I aware? And what am I aware of? Right? You watch the news and you're scared of what's going on. Am I aware? And what am I aware of? One of the things that I do with kids when I'm working with them is I tell them to start asking themselves questions. In every situation that you come up against where you're uncomfortable or you're not sure, am I responding from love or am I responding from fear? And you may not know at first. It's a difficult place to kind of figure out. A parent who pulls a kid out of traffic because they're afraid they're going to get hit by a car is responding by fear, but also covering over with love. Because the ultimate answer is the kid wants to continue living, and just because they don't have the awareness doesn't mean that the parent doesn't. But where do you draw that line? Do you draw the line when your kid wants to go out and date? When your kid wants to go to college? When you know that there are situations that are going to be dangerous for them? So in every situation, if you stop and you ask yourself, am I aware? What am I aware of? And am I responding from love or am I responding from fear? You would change your life. If all you did is stop for 5 seconds and ask yourself these questions, you would instantly change your life. Okay? Magic is real. Magic is all around you. And light, thanks to light, you can see it. You can actually see the miracles. You can actually see the messages. You can actually see the kindness and the love. And on the other side of that, it also means you can see the other side. You can see the other side of kindness. You can see the other side of love. Okay? So because of the fact that you can see both, it is up to you to decide what works for you. It's up to you to decide where you are on your path. And so finally, I'm going to end with this. Light is definitely not the problem. What you do with light is completely up to you. Light is all around you. It is not going anywhere anytime soon. But what you do with that light not only affects your life and the people that are in your life, it affects the people that are watching you. If you're on a journey and you really want magic, right? I can teach you sigils. I can teach you numbers. I can teach you Benford's law and vortex math. And I can even have you sign up for an aerokinetics class and teach you how to move things by understanding science, by understanding bioelectricity that runs through your body and how you can use that external. I can do all of that. But if you want real magic in your life, you want abundance, you want growth, you want relationships, you want friendships, you want guidance, you want to elevate and illuminate this world, you have to start from kindness. You have to start from belief, which belief is just believing in something external yourself, trusting in something external yourself. And once you have those two things together, you will receive awareness. And awareness is going to allow you to use your third eye. Awareness is going to allow you to look at the world and see both options on both sides and decide what is best for you, what is most beneficial, not only for you, but for those in your life. You cannot fight in this world and get anywhere. You cannot fight your ego. You cannot fight the government. You cannot fight your fears, because none of those things exist. The government exists as just a group of people who are trying to get energy to flow in a certain direction. That's it. That's their job. Their job is to make sure that the average person who cuts someone off in traffic doesn't go and just kill everyone because they're frustrated. Their job is to make sure that things run the way that they do. And we can do a much better job. There's no question about that. We can do a better job in multiple areas. We can do better in religion. We can do better in spirituality. We can do better in education. But that does not mean that we blame them. That means that you see the awareness and the understanding that they are doing the best they can. And until you are ready to step into that place, judge lest ye be judged. I am constantly asking people, if I gave you $13 billion tomorrow, what would you do with it? And the funny thing is it blows people's mind, and they're like, no one gives 13 billion. There are many people out there, including Elon Musk, was $289 billion just last year. Right? It is not that much to ask. But if I gave you $13 billion, what would you do? And the average person says that they would help out, the homeless, and they would change things. But that's not the problem. The problem isn't helping out homeless. The problem isn't having a heart. The problem is having a plan. The problem is not caring about your individual personal bias and caring about the overall for everyone. Free will still matters in this world. And every single time, whether you are higher up or lower up, every time you go against free will, you pay for it. Every single time. Going against universal law is the quickest way to lose magic and to lose power in this world. So you can stay on Facebook and you can keep talking about how you are loving and you are light and you are magical and you've seen these experiences, or you can step out of your cave, use kindness, use trust and belief in something. It does not matter to me. It can be anything it wants. It just has to be external of you. And you can use awareness to actually change this reality. You ultimately have an option. You can follow Jesus's walk if you want to. And you can be a light in this world. Or you can follow Lucifer's walk. And you can hide. You can hide from light. And even more than that, you can step back from both of them and be neutral. Be somebody that appreciates both sides, understands both sides, and can actually be there for people no matter what side they're on. All right? Get your 9 vibes aligned.